Welcome to Capturing the Abandoned, a foray into the world of rural and urban abandoned exploration. Hello, my name is Vincent Gerhardt, and along with my co-host, Mr. Lex Nichols, we would like to welcome you to episode 3 of Capturing the Abandoned. Here's a little more info on what this show is about. This podcast is for and about rural and urban abandoned explorers from anywhere in the world. And hopefully, on each episode, we will try to highlight and recognize a fellow explorer, such as ourselves, to see what inspires and motivates them. And most importantly, for all of us to get to know these explorers on a more personal level as an individual and as an artist. Beyond the interviews, this podcast will, in time, try to cover the many aspects of abandoned exploration, where we plan to continue to do the interviews with the various explorers to find out what they get out of exploring and capturing the decay and the elusiveness of the passage of time, and how they use photography to share their interpretation of the abandoned world. There is also planned to be commentary on other aspects of exploring, including safety awareness, all types of gear, and hopefully a deep dive into Instagram, and anything else we can come up with as a community. Please feel free to contribute. More on how to do this towards the end of this episode. And just to let you know, at this point in time, there won't be any real set schedule for when we release a new episode. But if you subscribe via any of the main podcatchers out there, you will receive the latest show automatically. And remember, it's free. And that's the beauty of podcasts. You can find our Facebook page by searching for Capturing the Abandoned. And we'll use this page to share our podcast information, including our show notes and artwork for each episode, and information on locations where you can download, stream, and or subscribe to it. In addition to the Facebook page, we've also created a Facebook group at the same location called Capturing the Abandoned International, which is dedicated to the purpose of showcasing the images, stories, and the people who create the images and art of this genre. This is where we hope to have anyone and everyone from any country post and share their rural and urban abandoned pictures and stories with everyone else. So please stop by and contribute. And now for the good part. Today, Lex and I are very excited to have Cyndie Smith, a fellow abandoned explorer, on the show with us today. Cyndie is a middle school teacher and, in her own words, a hobby photographer from the northern neck of the great state of Virginia. Hello, Cyndie, and welcome to Capturing the Abandoned podcast.
Oh, thanks, you guys. It's so nice to be on the podcast. I'm really excited about it. Thanks so much for having me.
Glad to have you.
So if you would, please just kind of give us a little background on yourself, a little 411, and then we'll just roll from there.
Sure, yeah. Like we said, my name is Cyndie Smith, and I live in Reedville, Virginia. And I kind of like to refer to myself as a Maryland girl in a Virginia world, because I was born in Virginia, but then quickly moved off to Maryland and was raised in Maryland, and then came to the Northern Neck, kind of following my parents when they retired about 14 years ago. So it took me a little while to get used to it, because it was, the big city and then to this very, very rural area. But after about 3 years of realizing I was not going to be able to walk to Starbucks again or go to a mall within 30 minutes, I started looking for other things to do. And that brought me into photography and kayaking and hiking and just enjoying the wilderness and the water, boating and jet skiing and fishing. And when I was in Maryland, it was a nice place to grow up at the time. It was Roxbury, Maryland, Montgomery County. And I just loved scrapbooking and any kind of crafts at the time. Got into jewelry making and ceramics for a little while, and coloring. I loved coloring as a kid, scrapbooking. And I just always kind of gravitated towards the arts a little bit, even though I was from a very sportsy family. I went to the University of Maryland, where I got at College Park, where I got my degree in physical education and health from pre-K to grade 12. And did a lot of substitute teaching in Maryland while I was raising children, and then moved to Virginia and started working at a very rural school in Westmoreland County. We have 400 students at our middle school, and I've been teaching PE and health there ever since. I've raised 2 sons, and I've been to my husband Mark for 24 years, and we've really enjoyed here in the country, and I don't think I'll ever get back to the city.
You're in Northern Virginia. What's the biggest town closest to you?
Well, there's Northern Virginia, which is considered the city. We're in what's called the Northern Neck of Virginia. And the biggest city, I guess, that's closest to us would be Fredericksburg, Virginia, to our north. D.C. is another hour and a half past Fredericksburg. And then to our west, the biggest city would be Richmond, Virginia, the capital of the state. So we can get to the city, but it takes a couple hours.
In your bio, said your husband was a former Major League Baseball player, huh?
Yeah, he did. And he was a former Major League Baseball player. He played with Cal Ripken on the O's when they were in Triple A League, and then he moved up to the Oakland A's and pitched there for about a year. Got injured. He was a pitcher and decided to get out of it, but he enjoyed it for a lot of years. Unfortunately, I never got to see him play.
That's too bad.
He was done with it before I even met him, so I never got to really see him throw a ball.
Where we're at, we're near La Junta. We have a guy that is retired from Major League Baseball. He played for the Oakland A's also. And he pitched, ironically. Yeah, he's still around, and so it's a small world. The Oakless Boy was the last one. They're the ones that have the car wash there by Walmart in La Junta.
Right. Yeah,
so he pitched and did the same thing. So I'm sure if we get behind the scenes and tell him about you guys, there would be some kind of connection. But that's great.
Yeah, I'm gonna ask Mark about that and see if he remembers, if he knows if he played the same time, or maybe a little before or after. It is such a small world. It really is.
Yeah, it really is.
He likes to build and race cars now.
Yeah, I was just going to ask you how you got into all this type of photography, the bando stuff, and you do some really nice work. It's a pleasure.
Yeah, I like. Of course, Mark wants to make things fast and somewhat shiny. Doesn't do show car, type of car. He is more into the drag racing scene, and his cars are pretty, but they've got scratches on them, and they're tubbed out and full of metal interiors instead of plush interiors, but they're pretty race cars. And we have he had a good time racing for many years. So I took a lot of pictures and videos of him racing. But when we moved down here, there was only one little racetrack, and most of the vehicles that I would see were, crusty and rusty and sitting beside barns or in barns or on the side of the road or junkyards. So I kind of got interested in that. And Mark wanted to build some rat rods, so I was kind of always on the prowl for parts that might be good that I could buy from somebody at a junkyard and use on his rat rod. Yeah, that's kind of how I got into the car photography. Kind of taking pictures to show him, hey, look what I found. Was this any good? Did you use anything off of this car? And then it was kind of fun to take that patina that you see, that rusty patina, and add color to it and really try to bring out the grain in it. And it turned into, fun type of artwork. And I decided to call it Technigrime because of the color that I would add, Technicolor, and the griminess and the patina of what I'd like to shoot. And I just kind of put those two together and called it Technigrime.
That's nice.
Oh, perfect. So what's your favorite subject to shoot, Cyndie?
I guess I would have to say at this point right now, it's the houses, the abandoned houses. And I wasn't drawn to their history or story very much first, but I'm starting to find myself really wanting to know who really lived in these homes and not just kind of making up my own story for it. And, how many generations possibly lived there, and what were they, what was their life like, and what, why did they end up leaving, and why is the home abandoned? Because there's just so many of them. And I imagine a lot of it has to do with, just the generations. After a few generations of farmers, sometimes the next generation of children go off to college, they move to the city, the parents pass away, and they don't want to live here anymore. They don't come back. And a lot of times they can't make a decision on who's going to get the property, who wants to sell the property. Some do, some don't, and it just sits there, and it just goes to rot. That's a story that I've heard quite a few times, but without a lot of names attached. So I'd like to start digging deeper, and I hope to do that this summer when I have time to go to the Historical Society that we have here in Northumberland and hit the courthouse and talk to people that have been here and maybe start knocking on some doors and asking questions.
It's always nice when you know a little bit of history about the place you're at. Vincent and I got to go photograph my aunt's house, which is a super old house, and we just happened to be out there. And luckily, I kind of knew the history on it. But it's great when you can when you know a little bit of the history. I think it has a different meaning. When you're in there and you're putting the image up, there's a story behind it. So I think that's wonderful.
Yeah. As I scroll through Instagram, I'm finding myself more drawn to looking at the people that are doing that, the photographers that are adding a history and telling a little story behind it. It's really starting to get my attention, and I think that's making me more curious about our area, because this is, such a historical place. Reedville used to be called Millionaires Row back in the 1800s when the Captain Elijah Reed discovered Reedville, or started Reedville. It was the richest town in the United States.
Wow.
And it was all because of the Menhaden fishery business. And all along Main Street in Reedville are the most beautiful 2, 3, 4-story homes, with all the gingerbread and just gorgeous homes that are still lived in and maintained. And it's like stepping back, a couple hundred years when you walk down Main Street.
That's awesome.
It's really neat. It's a pretty place to be. There's wineries everywhere, marinas everywhere. There's like 1,100 miles of shoreline on the northern neck of Virginia, and people come here to boat and fish and have a good time with the wineries. Not a lot of restaurants, but you kind of have to, I guess, give up something if you want to come to the rural areas. I wish we had more restaurants.
Sure. We ran across a couple places like that. I can't remember if we were in Bristol or Brandon.
Oh yeah.
There's like one huge mansion that I think a doctor, is that right, Vincent? Some doctor built?
That's what I've heard, yeah. That's Hartman.
Hartman, that's right. Yep.
Yeah.
It's out here, and it's just a little bitty kind of village type of town. They had a post office and a little bitty fire station or something, and a
not much
tile. Yeah. But it's just like this one little, or not little, but one Victorian style. A lot of architecture went into it, and
very prominent. It's
just kind of one of those cool things. So
the craftsmanship and the architecture on these homes are just amazing. The other thing about this area is, this is home to George Washington and Mary Ball Washington and James Madison and James. People were born here, and this is the gateway to our country becoming our country. So there's so much history here. If you're a history buff, you should definitely come visit the northern neck of Virginia.
That's great.
Awesome. You're in the heart of it.
A lot of these houses that I take pictures of are just on my way to work. A lot of times I'll get comments from people say, where do why are there so many abandoned houses? Why? Where are you finding all these? And I'm like, just on my way to work.
I'm just going to work. Yeah,
just on my way to work. I might take a road off to the left this time and find 3 or 4 down that way. And next time I'm going to go off to the right and find another couple. It's pretty, it's neat and it's amazing, I guess, when you want to hunt for them and photograph them. But it's just, on the other hand, it's kind of sad to see so much left behind.
Sure.
Yeah. So, Cyndie, what kind of equipment do you use when you're out doing your photography thing?
Well, nothing super fancy, that's for sure. I have a Canon. I'm not even sure how many years old it is. It's a Canon Rebel 6. That's like the most entry-level camera I think you can buy.
That's what I started with.
I love it. I love the camera. It's light. It's it's user-friendly. I like it a lot. And then I treated myself to a wide-angle lens. I use like a 10 to 18 millimeter wide-angle lens a lot for the houses. Yeah,
that does a lot of shooting with his wide angle. That's for sure.
Yep.
So I had to get one.
No, Vince has one. So I use basically the same thing. I have I think it's a 12 to 24 millimeter, and I leave it on one older Canon 5D body, and I shoot 95% of all our Colorado abandoned stuff with that lens. I fell in love with
12 to 24. Yeah, that sounds good. I would like that. 12 to 24 sounds good. Maybe that'll be my next purchase. Yeah.
There you go. And it's not necessarily the equipment. There's so many wonderful photographers that are doing this, and they're using their phones. And so I think, equipment can play a role, but I think for me, it's more the artistic side of it that you use. Equipment helps.
Learning how to kind of frame your photo. And I remember, I guess the one thing that always stuck in my head from a little photography class that I took down here was the teacher said, always try to shoot from somewhere to somewhere, and it's not always possible, but if you can kind of give the viewer of your photo an idea of kind of where you're standing and looking towards, whether it's a bush or in front of you or just that gives some idea to the viewer where you're standing when you take the picture, and it adds a little interest to the picture as well. And that always sticks in my head whenever I go out to shoot. I'm like, all right, where am I shooting from, and where am I shooting to? What do I want in the picture?
No,
and then I kind of move around until I find what I want.
What's your favorite software, or what kind of utilities or photo editing things? What do you use to if you're going to put something on Instagram? What's your go-to software?
Yeah, well, first I kind of just pop on my laptop and put my photos on my computer and go through and get rid of the ones I know I definitely don't want, and then I kind of run them through Lightroom and do kind of general editing, because I haven't learned all of the functions of Lightroom yet, and that's another on my to-do list, is to learn. And I know I can probably use that 500 times better than I'm doing now, so I'm looking forward to that. But I do basic editing through Lightroom, and then I usually end up going into Snapseed to add other editing looks to it, whether it's I know I like to do like the blur. I like the blur around the sides a lot of times. I think that adds a softness and like an old time feel to a picture. I like just clarifying and getting that good patina to come out. So that's really all I've done. I have looked at other apps, and I just never end up going back to them. I'll play with them once or twice, do a photo or two with them, and then it's kind of like I never even had it on my my laptop. I just don't even go back to it. I end up kind of going right back to Lightroom and Snapseed. So, but I don't think I've really developed my style yet.
Wow, so, I don't know if I could agree with you on that. You have an amazing style. Yeah, it's just sharp and clean, and you have such control over composition. I don't know. I think you have a wonderful style myself.
Oh, great. Well, if I'm going through Instagram and one of your photos pops up and I can't see, sometimes I don't see the name, at first, I know it's your photo. And I can do that with quite a few photographers that I follow. I don't even have to see their name. I'm like, oh, that's a Jackson.
Yeah.
This is a Colorado Abandon. This is a Trudy. It just pops up and you know that person's style and you know that it's their photo. Can you do that with me?
I think so. Yeah, I do. Yours are unique and powerful. I love them.
I think you do, and Vincent and I, because we share an account, there's one thing we do, and we tag the very last tag in all the hashtags is either Vincent's personal hashtag or my personal hashtag. That's how you can tell. But yeah, you can look at somebody, Joe Coop, Jackson, Vincent Johnson. Yours, when they show up on my feed, I get notifications for everybody that's posting, and I, before I even open the thing up, I know, oh, hey, that's Cyndie's, or that's Joe Coop's, or somebody, or Amy Tycon Dog. You just kind of get, they have, everybody's got that style, and you're there too, so.
But when I'm sitting down editing, I don't really feel like I do anything super special. I guess that's what's so funny. I guess you develop your own style, but you're not even really aware of it. If I was going to have to describe my style to somebody, I'm not sure how I would describe it, or if I could.
Yeah, well, it's definitely you. That's for sure. That's awesome. So about how long have you been doing this style of photography?
Well, I took photos of, with film, of course, for years of my kids and did a lot of scrapbooking. Once we moved here, we were really busy building houses and we still had a younger son that we were raising, and I didn't really do a lot of photography for the first 10 years or so that we lived here. But I would say over the last 3 years, I started picking the camera up again and entering photos in some of the local calendar contests, and just not really putting them on the computer and learning to edit it all, but just shooting more. And then my husband had a couple of big surgeries. He had a back surgery and a couple of shoulder repairs, and both of his knees had been replaced. And while he was going through these surgeries, he and I would end up kind of on different sleep schedules. He'd be up at night, I'd go to bed because I'd have to go to work, and then I'd get up early. So on the weekends, he'd be in bed asleep, and I wouldn't want to get up and wake him up. So I would go get my little Prius, and I would just drive all over the Northern Neck, and that's how I kind of started getting hooked on finding these houses. Just trying to get out of the house and keep it quiet for him.
Good. Hey, so on your travels, we always have to ask this question. Where's the shadiest place you've been?
Well, I mean, they're all kind of shady because most of them don't have doors or windows, and you're not really sure what's going to be inside them or around them. I'm always looking for nails, where to step, that I don't end up stepping on boards and pieces of glass and things that are that way. Other than that, I mean, there's really not it's wildlife, I guess, and just building parts and falling down buildings that are kind of shady out here. It's not like maybe in the city where you could run into. It's pretty safe to bando hunt around here, I guess. Basically, nothing's really shady. But
let me rephrase the question. Have you ever been ran off at gunpoint?
Oh, no, but I have been greeted very negatively and asked to leave, but there was no gun involved, fortunately. Jump out of your car and you walk around and start shooting, and somebody comes out, and you're like, oh my goodness, really? Somebody lives here? And most of the time I can kind of play it off with, oh, I'm so sorry I bothered you. I didn't see a car. I thought nobody was home. I just love the look of your home. And most of the time they'll go, oh, that's nice. And they'll tell me a little bit about the house and let me take a few shots. But one time the man was like, no, I don't want anybody here. You need to leave now. And I was like, oh, I'm so sorry. He's like, you should be. And I was like, oh, no.
Yeah, we've had a couple of those.
Yeah, nothing bad as far as but I've been warned about that. They say people, don't trespass if you see signs. People will come after you. They will definitely threaten you. But I haven't come across that. I guess because if I see a lot of trespassing signs up, I don't go.
Yeah. Yep. Good plan.
If they don't want me there, I'm not going to go. That's not, they're telling me they don't want anybody on the property.
Exactly.
But I've also noticed too recently that more signs are up. Some of the places that I have been to and wanted to go back and revisit now have signs. Some say they have cameras up. There's a really cool house on some property that belongs to a hunt club, and they've chained off the little road that goes to the house, and they said they've got cameras up and no trespassing and prosecution and all that. And I was like, wow, I wonder why.
Seems to be a lot more people doing this too. It's getting to be a bigger hobby for a lot of different people too. And some people just don't respect the creed or whatever. Take only photos and leave only footsteps. I
haven't run into anybody else at a place taking photos. It'd be interesting to know how other people are down here in the little Northern Neck are doing this type of photography. I haven't met anybody yet.
Oh, that's amazing. I guess we haven't either, now that I think about it. Not really. I mean, but we see a lot of pictures from the same places we've been.
Yeah, it seems like one time we were laughing, we saw some images from another IG user, and it was like, are they stalking us? It looked like the same things we were posting, but they just happened to be passing through and saw the same things that we did, and you get that every once in a while.
Pretty amazing. So, Cyndie, what's your favorite story you like to tell when you're out doing your adventures? You come across people and things and places, and I'm sure you have a favorite story that you like to tell.
Yeah, I've got quite a few different types of stories. I guess one melancholy type of story. There was a really cute house right off of the main road that people would drive by, daily to go to the town of Kill, which I guess is kind of our biggest town around here. It has a Walmart. It's huge. And I would stop and take pictures of that house from time to time. And I was out carousing around, and I saw smoke, and it looked like it was coming from the direction where that house was. And not really thinking about the house, I decided to drive that way and see if I could find out where all the smoke was coming from. And as I approached, I saw that the house was on fire. But there was fire trucks all around, and I went ahead and pulled into the next street, got out with my camera and walked up, and I saw this very elegantly dressed man standing there watching the fire. And I just kind of stood. There wasn't a whole lot of places to stand, so I was pretty close to him. And after watching him watch the fire for a little while, I looked over and I said, wow, so this is a controlled burn. I said, I'm so sad to see that cute house go. I've taken so many pictures of it. I really like it. And he turned and looked at me. He said, you did? And I said, yeah, it's a pretty little house. He said, I grew up in that house.
Oh, wow.
I was like, oh, wow. I said, so what's going on with it? Why are they burning it down? He said that the property still belonged to his family, that he had grown up there. His dad was a preacher at the church down the street, and his dad and mom had raised 4 children, all educated and all had way to work, and nobody came back for years. The house went abandoned, and now one of the family members wanted to use that land, but the house had to go. It just wasn't, they weren't to revive the house. So they were doing this controlled burn, and hopefully another house is going to be built. I haven't seen any activity there, but I asked him, I said, well, how do you feel right now? How does, if you don't mind telling me, how does this feel to you? And he said it was just, very bittersweet, and, it was kind of heartbreaking. And I said, you're the only one that's here. And he said, yeah, my brothers and sisters didn't want to come. I think it was too hard for them. And I said, well, let's look on the positive side. At least somebody else is interested in the property, and maybe another family member builds, and now, the next generation comes, and then the next one. I said, this might be really a beginning and not an ending. And he was just, the way he looked at me was kind of like a thank you. And he was just like, yeah, that's a good way to look at it. But I'd never been through an experience like that. And I thought, wow, what would that feel like to watch your childhood home being burned to the ground?
If we were to say, if you were looking through your feed on all your images that you've posted, what would you say was your best shot, and why?
I think there was one that I did we have a really neat little gas station that I take a lot of shots of, and I recently happened to be coming home from work, and this golden sunlight was just hitting that cool gas pump, and I got a shot of that, and that one got a lot of hits, a lot of likes. So I think that might be one of my best shots because the light was just really pretty. It was clear enough that I got really good patina on the shot, and the angle was kind of nice. So it just kind of everything kind of came together and aligned, and it just turned out to be a really nice shot. And I did print that, and it even printed well. That's
nice.
Probably my favorite one right now.
Good.
So what is the best places that you've been to?
Oh, I am obsessed with a house right now that I have to find out information about. And, you would think that it'd be pretty easy to find out information around a little place like this that still has, a lot of families that are generational and have been here. We have, like I said, we have the Historical Society. We've got a nice little library. It's just, I keep calling it a house, but I don't think it's a house. I think it is a hotel. And it sits right on the point of the Cone River. And it's 2 stories with like 3 or 4 little outbuildings attached to the back of it. And it's a big, beautiful windmill. But the architecture, the layout of the building doesn't speak. It doesn't look like any other home that I've seen down here on the Northern Neck. It looks to me like it would have been a hotel. There's 6 bedrooms upstairs, and looks like 2 big sitting rooms kind of downstairs, and what to me looks like it could be a big group dining room. And nobody seems to know who owns it, what it used to be, or any of the history on it, and it's driving me absolutely crazy. So the Historical Society is closed, or when I get off, they're closed, so I can't go there, but I did make contact with a lady that works there, and she's going to try and tell me about it. But it's just got neat porches and just a unique architecture to it, and where it's situated, it's just the prettiest place. And I think that's the best place down here to go. and photograph. It's kind of hard to photograph because it's so long. So there's, I've had to shoot it many times, and I'm not done shooting it for sure. I'm sure I'll go back out and shoot it again.
So I work for the county here where we live, and I can tell you, if you go to the assessor's office and tell them where the parcel is, they can pull up the parcel ID number, and they have a history on who's owned that thing as far back as your county has records. So that'll give you a lot of information. It'll at least give you names.
I can get that without an address, you think? Because there's no 911 address, nothing.
Nope, you just go, everything, if it's a parcel, it has a parcel ID number. So if you go to your assessor's office and say, hey, there's this place right here, I'll show you on the map. Each county has a database of parcel ID numbers, and you can click on that, and it'll tell you who the last owner was, and then that might be a way for you to get a little research, and it's public information because it's been recorded publicly in the clerk and recorder's office. Do you have a worse place? I mean, is there something that's just left a bad taste in your mouth?
Well, I probably shouldn't tell the story because it's going to get me in trouble, because my husband's always worried about me getting hurt when I'm out there, because I like to go by myself. I'm just not good going with other people. I can't get in my groove when somebody else is around, because I feel like they're watching, or, I don't know, I just can't concentrate on what I'm doing. I'm a little ADD, if you can't tell. And I get distracted easy, so I do better on my own, and it's more relaxing to me. So a lot of times I don't go into these houses because they do look dangerous, and I do value my health, and I don't want to get hurt. But every once in a while I do venture in, and one time not too long ago, and I went into one of the little outbuildings, and I'd never really gone in there before, but the door was open. So I saw a very small little staircase, almost like a ladder, that went up to a second-story house. I was surprised by that because I didn't really look like that would be there from the outside. So I decided I was going to go ahead and crawl up there and look. And when I got up to the top of the stairs, I heard all this noise, and two big buzzards just kind of like plopped out of this hole from the ceiling about 6 inches away from my face. And I went sliding down those stairs. I ran away from the building and finally got, just plopped down, and then I just laid there and laughed and called myself every name in the book and said, "You're such an idiot," and it was pretty funny. Yeah.
You pull into a place and you're walking across the boards and they're creaking, and pretty soon the pigeons fly out, and it scares the heck out of you.
Yeah, your heart just stops, and you're like, "Oh my God, what was?" And my first, I always think, why did I come up here without, a flashlight and without a stick or something? I'm just crawling up these stairs just to take a peek, and I don't know what's up there.
It's all about adventure.
Yeah. I guess. A lot of times in our area, it's big owls come out. I mean, they're huge, and they just, they fill up your face. I'll tell you, they're amazing.
Oh my gosh, they have giant claws. That could be really bad.
Yeah. Do you do any art shows at all, or have you done any in the past?
I have kind of just got it started printing and showing some art, and I've been doing it at the public libraries in our area. The Northumberland County Public Library is a pretty busy place because there's not, like I said, it's very small. There's not a whole lot around anyway. But I've been putting some exhibits of artwork in there, and they seem to like it a lot. In October, I did all my Technicrime photography because they were having a big antique car show at the farmers market area, which is right there next to the library. So it kind of worked in conjunction with that, and that turned out really nice. And even though I'm not there, I'd come in to put out cards or whatever in the library, and would say, "Oh my God, everybody's talking about your photos. They're a big hit. Everybody likes those car photos." And when I set up a display, I use car parts. I have
awesome.
An old grill with truck grill with headlights, and old oil cans and gas cans and tools and seat springs, and I use all those things to kind of make a nice little presentation, and I think that makes it more interesting. But all the old guys that came in, they all wanted to tell me their car stories. I had a car like that. My uncle had one of those. And it's kind of fun to see them kind of relive their fond car memories through these old photos. now I have my abandoned houses on display at the same library. So I've done 2 shows there, and I took my Technogrime exhibit to another library close by in a county called Lancaster County. So I've only done 3, and I'm looking forward to doing more. I want to do one at the Westmoreland County Historical Society Museum. I think that would be a good place to do kind of maybe a combo. It's a big room, and I've got a lot of antique furniture and lamps and things like that. So I like to create, a stage kind of for my photography. I think that'll make it more interesting for people to look at.
For sure.
Nice. Well, that's awesome, and it's just kind of getting your work out there, and it has a tendency to grow. Sometimes it can just exponentially get huge on you, and so I think that's awesome. You're out showing your work, and so kudos to you.
Yeah, I mean, it's fun. It's not as scary as I thought it was going to be. And, a couple of friends kind of said, hey, why don't you just do it at the library? I've done that before. And, just were positive and supportive about it. And when I got a printer that printed nice, I thought, I'll go ahead. I'll try it. And it just wasn't as scary as I thought it was going to be. It was fun.
You're getting the feet wet.
Yep, getting the feet wet.
So, Cyndie, do you have any people that you would like to do a little shout out for? Maybe some Instagram photographers, art influences, anybody else you'd like to mention?
Yeah. Well, of course, I love Colorado Abandoned.
Well, yeah, of course.
Yeah.
Thank you.
All day long. Mm-hmm.
No, thank you.
I really do. I absolutely love your photography and your artwork.
We appreciate it.
You guys do great together. Yeah. Very inspirational indeed. And I really got a shout out to Backroad Visions, Pat and Adam. They really kind of got me started in IG, or kind of picked me up as a friend quickly and offered a lot of support and encouragement and featured my photos and even let me be a guest mod a couple of times for them. So I consider them kind of my IG family member.
And
they're great.
We have something similar. When we were first starting this out, I had no clue how Instagram worked. And so I was, trying to just gather friends, and I think it was TRB AutoZone or one of those.
Oh, yeah, like, I like them too.
You can't post, you got to be this, or you got to, I'm like, I'm just posting stuff and putting hashtags, and then they kindly told me, this is how you need to do it. And so anyway, we follow them, they follow us. So
I also really enjoy following Mike Will and Sin Vaughn and Janet March and Cindy Urbeck and Jackson, of course, and Rich Kern. I like Among the Ruin and Photo Girl Trudy. And I mean, the list goes on and on and on. I think I follow about 750 people, and I probably would like to follow more, but it's hard to keep up. I miss so many good photos.
It is.
Yeah.
I'm thankful that Vincent, he does 90% of the moderation. I see everything that comes in, but I don't always have the time to go in and give it the attention it deserves. But luckily, Vincent he's our eyes for Colorado Abandoned. I always got a kudos to him. But so how can people get in touch with you? What's the best way? Is it website, email, Instagram?
Yeah, I would imagine just my IG sites at Cyndie.Smith or at Technogrime. I do have an email for Technogrime, and it's technogrime@gmail.com. But I don't have a website yet, and I haven't done a Facebook page for photography. I have a personal one, but I don't really look at it too often. So I'm thinking maybe this summer I might start another Facebook page, because I hear I need to follow you guys on Facebook.
Yeah, it's a Facebook page is always a good thing. I think it's another good way to get your work out there for sure.
It's crazy because a majority of everybody that has a smartphone has a Facebook account, and Vincent has just grown the community page huge. He's doing great things with the Capturing the Abandoned, and so it is almost everybody that has a phone has Facebook. I don't check mine as much as I should, so thank God Vincent's on my team.
I know. Well, I need to check out your Facebook page. I'm I think I'm missing a lot by not getting on Facebook for photography, but I'll be doing that soon.
Well, Cyndie, it's been an awesome pleasure to have you on our podcast with us this time. It's nice to have a woman's perspective, so we sure do enjoy your work.
Yes, well, thank you so much. You're the first girl. So
I am. I'm the first
girl power, huh?
Girl power. That's great.
I have several more lined up, so that's good.
Yeah,
girls can do anything boys can do, but better, right?
I have 2 daughters, so their favorite little saying is, anything you can do, I can do better. I'm like, okay, that's okay. I'm cool with that.
Yeah.
So, thank you so much for your time and giving us some insight into what sparks your interest with it. So we sure appreciate the time you've allowed us to have with you.
Yes, thank you so much.
It was all my pleasure.
Okay, bye-bye. Have a good night.
Thank you. You too. Bye-bye.
Once again, thank you, Cyndie, for being our guest on this, our 3rd episode of the Capturing the Abandoned podcast. And as both are a real treat, be sure to visit Cyndie's Instagram pages at Cyndie.Smith and at TechTheGrind. Just as a quick FYI here, the music beds in our podcast are created by, as I like to call him, Mr. Lex Nichols. And you can find more of his music on his website at lexnichols.com, Spotify, and on iTunes. Enjoy. We've reached the end of this episode of Capturing the Abandoned, and we hope that you have enjoyed it. You should be able to find this podcast wherever fine podcasts are served, including Apple Podcasts, Spotify, Google Podcasts, Anchor, Overcast, and more. Please subscribe and be sure to let any of your adventurous friends and relatives know about this podcast. In order to continue to make this podcast better, your feedback is important to us, so please feel free to reach out to us at capturingtheabandoned@gmail.com and leave us your thoughts, ideas, and suggestions on how we can improve this show and bring you the best Capturing the Abandoned experience. Fun times, exciting guests, and abandoned content are up ahead, so please stay tuned. And until next time, be safe out there.